I've shared my full review of the Nikon D500 and my body tour of it as well, plus several photo shoots and various other photos. Now let's talk about the menus. In this video, I'll take you on an overview of the menus. I'll show you how they generally work, and I'll show you some of the settings changes that I make when I purchase a new camera. In future videos, I will take you on more detailed walkthroughs of each section of the menu. Let's start with how you get to the menus. It's simple. You have a menu button on the back of the camera. You press it and the menu comes up on the rear LCD screen. Nikon has the menu broken down into 7 categories, which you can see down the left side here. The playback menu, the photo shooting menu, the movie shooting menu, the custom settings menu, the setup menu, the retouch menu, and the my menu/recent settings menu. Starting with the playback menu. Playback is where you are reviewing photos and videos on the rear LCD screen. This menu allows you to customize how you review images. I don't spend a lot of time here. There are 2 things that I do like to do when I receive a new camera. One is turn image review off. That means that still images won't pop up on the LCD screen every time I click the shutter. They will only come up when I press the playback button. Next, I go to Playback Display Options, where I can customize what I see on the LCD screen when I do press the playback button. In fact, I can set it to have numerous screens I can scroll through for every image. My settings for this will depend on what I'm shooting, but for now, I'm wanting to see the highlight screen, the histogram, and overview, but I don't want to see anything else. I like being able to quickly get to the information I rely on without scrolling through a bunch of screens, seeing the stuff that I don't need. Next is the photo shooting menu. This has controls for the mechanics of shooting. You can tell the camera where to write your images here. Do you want still images to write to the XQD card or the SD card? I initially had mine write to the SD card because I didn't have an XQD card reader, but I did just receive that, so let's switch that over now. And then, what do you want the camera to do with the second card? I change this option depending upon what I'm shooting. I typically have it as overflow, where the camera will fill up the card you have assigned as primary, but then when it's full, it'll start writing to the other card. Next is the movie shooting menu. It is like the photo shooting menu, but for video. Similar to still photos, I want to make sure of where my videos are going, the XQD card or the SD card. Then the frame size and frame rate and the movie quality are both here. Depending on what I'm doing, I can make 4K video or 1080p and the frame rate. Plus, if I want high quality or normal. And into the custom settings menu. This is a big one. It's broken down into 7 sections. Autofocus, metering and exposure, timers and AE lock, shooting and display, bracketing and flash, controls, and movie. Plus the banks here. You can really get into customizing how the camera works and takes photos here. Now there's a ton here, but there's only one thing that I want to check on right away. Well, it's sort of 2 things. AFC priority selection and AFS priority selection. In both of these, you can choose how your camera reacts when it can't find focus. For single servo, I typically want the camera to stop rather than take an out of focus photo, so I'll put it on focus. For continuous servo though, I'd like to use the Focus Plus release, where the camera will take the first photo only if it can find focus, but then it will prioritize the frame rate for any other shots in the burst, only if the distance between the camera and subject doesn't change though. Onto the setup menu. This is where you set up the camera. When you first turn on a new camera, it will take you through setting some of this stuff up, like language and time zone and date, so I don't need to go to those. But I do want to go to Format Memory Card. When I first get a camera, I want to get the card cleaned off and formatted for it. Next, I head to Beep. I want to make sure that the camera isn't going to make that annoying beep each time I focus. This camera has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but when it isn't in use, like right now, I want to go here to airplane mode and turn it off. That way it preserves battery life. This is the Retouch menu. It is where you can edit your images and videos in the camera. There's nothing here that I go to right away when I get a camera, but I'll share all of the options in a video later. The last item here can be 2 things, the My Menu or Recent Settings. The My Menu is where you can make a new menu of your most commonly used settings. You choose which items you want and you can organize them. Recent Settings is a list of the most recent menu items you've changed. You choose which you prefer in Choose tab. I prefer My Menu, and I'll talk more about that in a separate video. There are a ton of menu options in the D500, and I use many of them at one time or another, in regular shooting or in testing out of the camera. But the items that I talked about today are the ones that I check out when I very first turn the camera on. Now, if you are stuck on something menu related, please feel free to contact me. Or you can download the Nikon D500 menu guide. You can download it on Nikon's website or in their manual viewer app. It's quite handy to learn about the menu options. But like I said at the beginning of the video, I am working on detailed menu walkthrough videos where I will go over all of the information for each of the menu items.